So this happened when me and my two friends were traveling to another city in my country with a quite old and slow night train. We have bought tickets spontaneously and quite late, so we were divided into different compartments. Usually it's not a problem to come to an agreement with people to swap places with you. It's quite common practice. The wagon had about 9 compartments, each has 2 top and 2 bottom shelves. Me and my one friend were in compartment #2, closer to the conductor's office, IDK, this small room where they sit, and we were on top and bottom shelves. And my other friend was in compartment #9, top shelf. This other friend's compartment was next to the toilet room. The thing is that you usually wouldn't wanna be in #9 on these old trains, because in 90% of cases it will smell horribly all the way because of the toilet. We wanted to ask someone from our compartment to swap with our friend, but it turned out we had a nice couple going with us, so it's us two who would have to move. So we haven't unpacked yet, as well as many of the passengers. And we went to visit our friend at #9 and ask someone from his compartment to swap places with us. And we felt lucky as we saw that he had another couple with him, occupying top and bottom shelf, just like us. Swapping should be easy, as we were further from the toilet and that's a huge perk. The conversation went as follows. Edited fake names instead of abbreviations, because it was hard to read. Alex, friend who was with me. Nick, my friend from #9. Karen, bitchy lady. Shitman, her bitchy boyfriend. Me, hey, we have a friend traveling here. Would you mind swapping places with us? We have the same shelves as you do. Karen, no. Get away from my compartment. Note that Nick is there, as well as another passenger. Alex, lady please. It's further from the toilet and we'll be traveling together as a group. Nick, yeah, please if you would. Shitman, listen, kids, we were all 22 to 23 already. Would you calm down? Damn it. I paid for my tickets and we are staying just at the place we paid for. I'm not into some shitty bargains. Me, excuse me, but we are offering better spots just because we want to be with our friend. Karen, I'm not falling for this. You probably have ticks in your pillows, or worse. Alex, what? No, it's not that. We just wanted to have a chat, maybe play cards. Shitman, listen, fuck off with your bullshit. I paid, and I stay here, and you are supposed to stay at your shelves. It's the law when you buy tickets. Well, that escalated quickly. There is no such law and no one cares, but okay. Her boyfriend made sure he called us morons a few times, so we could hear it going back to our compartment. We were confused of such a negative reaction, as it's not something you come across. Usually people would politely decline and that's it. Our friend told us they were complaining to him about US. What a lovely couple. Fast forward a few hours and we are getting ready to sleep. Nick decides to pay us a visit. He comes and says that #9 starts to smell like piss because people have been using the toilet. We mock him and laugh about him having to spend the night with shitty people and also smelling shit. The nice couple that stayed with us at #2 also laughed with us as we befriended them and told them the story already. About 10 minutes passes, someone knocks on the door. We are a bit confused of who it might be. We open the door, and would you know, the shitman is there. Shitman, you guys, we have thought about your offer and we think that we would like to accept it. Alex, you mean swap? When we have already unpacked? Shitman, yeah, I'm sure it's fast and no problem. And my woman is unable to sleep there. Alex, is it the smell? Shitman, happy we got his idea, yeah, it is bad. She's sick because of it. I see my friend and I already feel what he's about to say. I hear the inner drums, preparing me for the moment. Alex, sorry, man, we are staying on the shelves that we paid for. It's the law. I made a walrus gulp and closed my face laughing. Nick chuckled in his hand, and the nice couple had that happy shocked expression on their faces. Those assholes ended up spending the night with the smell worsening with every hour. Nick also suffered there, but he said it was worth it, listening to Karen eating her man's brains out over her not being able to fall asleep. She tried to spray her perfumes around, but it only turned out to smell like pile of crap on a flower bed. This is the story of a very bad teacher I had in college. His class was 99% group project, but whenever there was a conflict he would just tell the students to fight it out. No constructive criticism, feedback, mediation, or anything. Whenever there was a conflict his only advice was, when I had to work with a colleague 20 years ago, and we hated each other's guts, we eventually fought with our fists like men, and been friends ever since. Maybe you should try that. Now keep in mind this class was 60% girls with nice long sharp nails, so you don't really want to fight lol. Anyway, one day me, a girl, and one of the girls in my group had a fight because we both felt like the other didn't do jack shit in the project. She was supposed to send me her work so I could put everything together, but it was always late and filled with typos, grammatical errors, and some sentences didn't even make sense. Even though we agreed at the start of the project that my only job would be to put everything together, fact check everything, correct every single mistake, and make it look nice, she felt like I should be gathering info too. So, obviously two sides to this story. We really needed someone independent to find out who was right, and the rest of the group hated conflict, so they just stayed out of it. We went to the teacher and got his usual story of his fight. We were a bit pissed that a teacher would tell two 18-year-old girls to just fight with our fists instead of help us work through our issues. When we told the group what his advice was they found it very weird too. The malicious compliance. The next day we got to school and had put on Macleod to make it look like we had black eyes, bruises, etc. A few scratches here and there too. The administrator, who greets you when you enter the building, was shocked when she saw us and asked what happened. We told her the teacher told us to just fight instead of talk out our problems, so we did. When we walked away we heard her starting to call the dean, I imagine to talk about what she just saw. The teacher sadly happened to be away that day for some lecture, so he didn't get to see our injuries. He did get a stern talking to, and was later sent on a mandatory course on how to give constructive feedback, and how to teach your students to do so. I know because he complained about that course for the rest of the year. D. Some years ago I worked for a company that made parts for cars. We mostly made parts for the aftermarket, but we also had a few OEM customers. I had ended up controlling some of the machines that mostly did parts for the OEM customers. It had reached the point where, due to the laziness of my immediate supervisor, I made sure the work was done in order of priority, monitored and requested orders for machine consumables, requested parts from other departments, so orders could be finished, and the salesperson responsible for the customer would come directly to me if he needed something in a hurry. Basically I was doing my job and the parts of my supervisor's job that related to me. I didn't mind doing this, even though I wasn't being paid to do half of it, as it pretty much let me do my own thing without some idiot, my supervisor, getting in the way. Our main OEM customer had to redesign all the parts we made to comply with new regulations that had come in, and so, along with our development department, we proceeded to make and supply sample parts to customer specs for them to test and approve. This was a slow process that could take months of back and forth before they settled on a final product. This had been going on for many months, where my time was split between developing the new parts and making sure existing orders were completed on time. Up until this point ours was covered by someone that also had other roles in the company. For whatever reason they decided it was time to get someone specifically for the role, and employed someone from outside the company for the position. After ours had started, the company decided to look at the way people were paid. Up until this point everyone in a production role was paid the same, no matter their ability. So machine operators were paid the same as someone that was a setter/operator, my official job title. They decided some of the more capable people would get a pay rise and be given a new job title of machine setter. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. I was one of those people. One of the things I had a habit of doing was if I was in the middle of doing something, say setting up for a part, I would finish that before going for my break, which meant I didn't always have my break at the allotted with the rest of my department. Nobody had previously had a problem with this, but for some reason ours didn't like it. It was raised in a meeting by ours that I did this. They were basically told to keep their nose out as I was getting the work through, and that was all that mattered. They didn't like this, but were overruled, so couldn't do anything about it. A few weeks after all this happened, it was coming up to a bank holiday weekend and they were looking for people to work on the bank holiday Monday. They weren't offering anything in way of incentive beyond normal lot rates, and so I said no thanks. Admittedly, I refused, even if they had offered double or triple time. On the Friday I was called into the office by my supervisor and Hours because of refusing to work the bank holiday. Hours accused me of being selfish and of letting the team down by refusing to work. Hours pointed out how other people did more overtime than me and were still willing to come in on the Monday. To that I basically said good for them, and I still wouldn't be doing it. This was when Hours smugly brought up the fact I had recently been given a pay rise, and I was risking that by refusing. They had given the pay rise in the form of a bonus instead of on the hourly rate, so it would be easy for them to stop paying it. My response to this was to tell them they could take the bonus if they wanted, and in return I would only set and operate the one machine, and do none of the extra work I had been doing. Thinking they were being clever, they said fine, that's what I could do if I was still unwilling to work the Monday. My supervisor didn't look happy in the slightest at this decision, so that is exactly what I was going to do. I went and informed those that needed to know the situation and that if they needed anything they were to see either one of the other setters or the supervisor. So after enjoying my bank holiday weekend, I went in on the Tuesday morning and proceeded to set my plan in action. I went on a work to rule policy. I did only the bare minimum of what was required of me. Anyone that requested anything outside my pay grade were politely informed to see one of the setters or the supervisor. One of the key factors in my plan was that the machine that did the vast majority of the work for the OEM customers wasn't the one I was running. This was also the machine that 90% of the redesigns were being done on. After about 6 relaxing days, the production manager came to see me. He took me for a walk outside and asked me to go back to what I was doing before. The extra money I wasn't being paid would be backdated. He also said Hours had been ordered that if anything came up in regards to me, it had to be run by him first. I later found out that the production manager had just come from a meeting where both the heads of sales and development had raised the issue to the company director. After ripping Hours a new one, he told the production manager to get it sorted. I never had a run-in with Hours again after that. Apart from a few dirty looks, they completely avoided me to the point where they would go out of their way to avoid having to interact with me. They lasted for less than 6 months before being replaced. If you enjoyed the stories, slap the like and subscribe button for more of them, and don't forget to support the original writers with an upvote. Links are in the description. Peace out, and catch you tomorrow.